This is the new era. This is the new band, and we're unbreakable.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. We can make him better than he was. Better, stronger, faster. Actually, better, stronger,
faster. Is that a
faster.
line from Starship Troopers or something?
No, it's actually the $1 Million Man.
$6 Million Man. I know that, and
I don't even know what that is.
We Brits don't do excitement, so this is the best you're gonna get.
Chris is bringing the noise today, apparently.
Speaking of vanilla,
it's just I don't understand why.
I don't think anyone does. I don't think Travis Green understands.
Talking you through every goalie controversy, scoring slump, and draft lottery bust. This is the C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com and CKNW.com. Here they are, fresh from folding towels, sharpening skates, and washing jock straps. Chris, Matt, Anna, and Adam.
Welcome to another episode of the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast. This is Chris Golden at Lightforce, joined in a bigger hot box by Matt Lee at MattLee_61, Adam Owen Carter at AdamFOC, and Anna Forsyth at AForsyth03. Now, before we jump into the how you doing, you probably noticed a little something at the start of the episode. That is right, we are officially a member of the Overtime Media Podcast Network. So you are going to hear a few changes over the course of the episode. We'll talk a little bit about them when we get to it, but this is big news. This is going to allow us to go and expand our reach, get guests on from other pods, possibly, smart people, because that's what we need more of. But enough of that. What's new and exciting this week?
Very little, because we're still Canucks fans.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Matt seems to be, thrilled. I'm just reading the expressions on your face right now.
I would just like to say that it took us about 45 minutes to get set up for today's episode. And kudos to the staff at the Vancouver Public Library for assisting us and hanging with us.
And kudos to you, Matt.
And
we
it's
did
people
nothing.
like our patrons who help make this podcast run. And it's people like our patrons who help us record and get equipment and all that so that we won't have to take 45 minutes to set up in the future.
You know what's really cool, though, is that, these cables are, numbered, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I was told there'd be no math.
And the feed is matching up to, 8, 9, 14, and 66. There's no, lineage to what it says here into what in the room there. So I give you applause. Adam here he was just crap talking you the whole time.
That's not true. Actually,
I heard it.
Napping.
No, I heard it.
I think I said
we were
some
doing
nice
sound
things
check.
about your body.
No, we were
actually.
doing sound check, and I
said
heard
nice
you.
things about your body.
Which he does anyway.
It's okay. I'll just find a way to mute all your mics later.
Oh, no.
Well, except yours, big guy.
You are the producer extraordinaire, so you have post-production powers. Speaking.
So sweet, merciful Jesus. Thank you. That's solved, though.
Yeah.
And again, thank you to the Vancouver Public Library, Vancouver's best and brightest.
The podcast, I was going to say, speaking of the podcast, well, we're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff, one of which is the fact that Quinn Hughes is now officially a Vancouver Canuck. The ink is drying on the contract. He's on his way here to Vancouver. So we're going to talk a little bit about that this episode. In fact, you might say that it's a quintessential episode for us to convene on. Okay.
Is that a Quinn joke?
Well,
I was leaving the pause for the tumbleweed.
I was going to expect, Matt to at least acknowledge that was a pretty cool title that he came up with.
You just needed more. The delivery, I think.
Yeah, the delivery was very
You blew
poor.
by quintessential too quickly.
Quintessential. We're also going to review the fact that the Vancouver Canucks still are on the tank. They ain't getting off. Eastern media, they seem to think that Goodbranson is sorely missed. And I don't know. What else should we talk about? We'll figure it out as we go. Okay, so Canucks come from behind to beat the Leafs in overtime, having been down 2-0 going into the third period, where the Toronto Maple Leafs had been, 32-0 all season long, with the lead going into 3. So our boy, Sportsnet Murph, Dan Murphy, in an interview with, was it Hainsey? Who was it he was interviewing?
Yeah, who sounds like a hockey player from the 70s, doesn't he?
He also was probably old enough to be a hockey player from the 70s.
Yeah.
But, Murph was kind enough to bring up the streak and just say, hey, how do you look to maintain it? And then, of course, people are like, that's akin to saying the word shutout when a goaltender has got a shutout. Well, lordy, the Vancouver Canucks come back, score 2 in the third, score a third in the OT, and
He's doing God's work, as usual. Dan Murphy.
Toronto Maple Leafs Nation, they just went like absolute bonkers. I mean,
they were still awake?
Oh, yeah, and they were already pissed off that Houston, was calling the game. It's going to be tough when Houston's calling Hughes. When Houston's calling the game, because apparently, Houston is a Vancouver homer.
Yeah, but Canucks fans say he's a Toronto homer now.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
converted.
I think him just talking about Vancouver on the Vancouver game was enough for Toronto fans to say that he was a homer.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to the commentary because I was at the game, and it was pretty fun atmosphere. I've never been to a Toronto game before. When the Leafs scored that first goal, it was deafeningly loud in there.
That's awesome.
Is it awesome?
Well, how many Leafs fans were in that building?
I would say at least half the building.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they obnoxious?
Before the game, when the Leafs are warming up.
Sorry, I forgot about the moment of silence that was interrupted.
Oh, yeah, that was terrible on both sides. But during the warm-up, when the Leafs are down at their end, that's where my seats were, and there was like 5,000 Leafs fans watching a warm-up, like they've never seen their team or something, and I couldn't get to my seats. It was crazy.
Did you tell them to get the hell out of your spot?
No,
so
I just
you were
went and got a
low
beer.
bowling it?
Yeah, I was low bowling it. Free tickets. Thank you, Papa Chafe.
Whoever the hell that is.
Haley's dad. Anyway.
That's Mrs. OC.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a great. The first period, I thought the Canucks played well. Second period was depressing. The power play, kind of checked all the boxes for what came up in the Vegas game, and then kind of 2 unexpected goals in the third period made for a good game. Nothing better than seeing 10,000 Leafs fans go home sad, though.
Yeah.
As we were talking about on the last episode, we felt that if EP40 were to have himself a breakthrough game against Toronto, he would lock down the Calder. So you were there, Adam.
Yeah.
Did EP40 put up
no
enough?
He played fine. He just looks tired. Honestly, he looked tired against Vegas, and maybe it's him.
His back hurts from carrying this team so far.
Honestly, though, like he's skating hard, like compensating for his teammates, right?
Do you think he's hurt as well?
He might just be broken down a little bit. It's his first time playing.
Has he played? I don't think he's played this many games before in one season either.
No. So I mean, there's a rookie wall. It happens to a lot of guys.
And he's just having to play so defensively, and when you're the one that's having to carry the puck out of the zone. Rather than
he made some really nice plays, and there was one move he made, and maybe he's fresher earlier on the season. He finishes. I thought Besser had a pretty good game, but there's a lot of people who didn't at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of good games or not, we saw the Vancouver Canucks spot the Edmonton Oilers. A nice, was it a 3-goal lead?
Yeah.
Actually, no. I guess it would have been a 2-goal. They got one, and Edmonton got one, and Vancouver
no, it was 3-0.
3-0. Okay. I mean, I wouldn't watch that game because, whatever. But I was curious if the Vancouver Canucks, new MO was to spot leads and try to storm back. We sort of saw that happening against the Oil. The problem is that the Canucks couldn't get that third goal. And then what happened in Vegas did not stay in Vegas. No, Vegas came to Vancouver, had their way with the team.
Can we keep the Vegas discussion very brief because it's already making me sad?
And not going to lie, I think Las Vegas is a good barometer as to where the Vancouver Canucks rate when it comes to playoff caliber teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, although we just keep getting wrecked by the Knights. I'm not saying we are a playoff caliber team and that's just a blip. Obviously, I'm not saying that, but we do seem to get wrecked by Knights every single time.
Right, but the
so
Knights
I don't know
are not just a playoff caliber; they're like a Stanley Cup. They went to the finals last year and are arguably better this year.
Someone correct me.
They're so deep.
Someone correct me. Where is Vegas in the standings right now? Are they the division leaders or are they close to?
I'm actually not sure, to be honest with you.
But if you look at how they line up, it's just insane.
Okay, I'm gonna sound totally stupid. Is Vegas in the Pacific or the Central Division?
Pacific.
They are in our division, correct?
Yeah.
So they're not better than Calgary, though. I'm guessing then at that point.
Or San Jose. So they're actually third.
They're actually third? They're not even the best in the division?
They're third, but that was before Stone too. They're pretty far back from the other guys.
Are they back that far back from the Flames?
They're 9 points back from the Sharks.
They're so far up. I don't even look at. I don't look at the top of the standings.
Yeah,
I only look at the bottom.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Between Vancouver and 31.
But does that not stress? And you guys have sort of touched on it a little bit. We almost had 7 games of that all over us if we accidentally made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I would
4
not
games.
have
4
wanted
games,
to.
exactly.
I would
4.
not have enjoyed a 4-game series against the Vegas Golden Knights if we were to make the playoffs.
No, and they dominated the Canucks in both games. It wasn't even close. The only reason it wasn't 6-0 in the first game was because Markstrom stood on his head, and then this game was a little bit of regression, and it just the bounces
he couldn't
didn't
save them.
Yeah,
But you look at Markstrom in that first period before he gets yanked. I mean, he was doing whatever he could possibly do.
Oh, he would make 2 incredible saves, and a third shot that he just couldn't get to would go in. It happened 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and some of those, you could say, maybe even as many as half those goals were ugly bounces, but Vegas had so many chances. It could have easily
Well, yeah,
been
they're getting
more.
the bounces off second and third chances, right? Canucks never
exactly.
got that. So
Let's move on past the Vegas discussion. It's already
It was
passing.
brutal.
It's already pissing me off.
we'll come back to it in a minute.
No, we won't.
Well, if we look at the week that approaches us, so the Vancouver Canucks are at home against the Rangers and the Devils. They got the Stars on the road on Sunday, and we'll be recording on the Monday when I believe they're playing the Blackhawks, so we may or may not know what's going on while that game is happening. So let's talk about the Rangers, Devils, and Stars. Is there a win to be had in any of those 3
Devils.
Yeah.
God, that's a game you hope they lose.
Yeah, it's the game that you hope they lose the most, though, unfortunately.
It's true,
but I feel
that's
like
the
the
only
Devils
one.
are one of those teams that just if you can shut down the Canucks and slow them down, then you're fine. You can win 1-0, right?
Has that not been everybody's MO against the Canucks, though, the last 20 or so games?
Yeah, sure, but I'm saying the Devils are one of those teams that always seems to do it. Like the Coyotes always do it too, right? They might not be a good team, but for whatever reason, they always shut down the Canucks and always slow them down and
Drag them down to their...
When was the last time the Canucks had I mean, they don't play the Devils that often, obviously, but can you remember a game where they beat them handily? I can't.
No. I
Didn't
know
they
what
just
you mean.
play them, I believe it was after Boxing Day, or was it on Boxing Day or before New Year's?
Yeah, right around Christmas.
And they were shut out, if I'm not
there you go.
mistaken.
See?
I'm pretty sure that's
that
what it
sounds
was.
right. Yeah.
It was like a morning game, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like an
Yes,
11
it
a.m.
was,
game.
yes, yeah.
I remember because I
4-0.
watched it at work. Don't tell.
Hopefully they don't tune into the podcast.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
So, sorry to answer your question, they win one of those 3 at the most, and I'm just hoping it's not the New Jersey game.
So you hope it's not New Jersey,
Yeah.
but they could beat the Rangers or the Stars.
Yeah, I could see them winning one of those games. Preferably none, though.
Because if we look at the Rangers and the Devils right now, the Rangers are
The
considerably
Rangers,
better
the
than
Rangers are
Devils.
effectively experimenting at this point. Like they're playing a lot of their kids. They're playing Alexander Georgiev over Henrik Lundqvist, or it's at least a 50-50 split. Like the Rangers are in full on let's see what we have in our kids mode right now, which is again similar to what the Canucks are doing. But the difference is the Rangers are actually scraping together the odd win every now and then.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like in the last 10, the Rangers are 3-3-4.
Yeah.
Right. So they're playing quote unquote 500 hockey, experimenting. Whereas the Vancouver Canucks are struggling to get a win through experimentation.
And on the Dallas Stars, by virtue of having Sagan, Ben, Klingberg, those players don't allow them to full out lose so many games. So I can see that being a challenge for the Canucks as well.
Yeah, I see them losing to Dallas, definitely.
Well, you think where Dallas is positionally, they're in the wild card hunt. I mean, they have a hold on it right now, so they, I think, have more to play for. This is a team that wants to be in the playoffs. Not to suggest that the Devils, the Rangers, or the Canucks don't want to, but conceivably, the Devils and the Canucks, they got a huge hill to climb, and I don't think there's a person in this hot box of a recording studio right now that really wants the Canucks to make the playoffs based on what we've seen and who they might end up facing. That said, 1 win out of 3 is 2 more points.
We were aiming for 250, though, weren't we? 1 out of every 4 games the rest of the way?
We were, I think it was 30-something% is what the number
Oh, was
was.
it 30%?
That's what we talked about last week.
What? Yeah, because it was 73. Was there?
What have we been batting since then? Since we
We
discussed
got
that?
1 out of 3, I think.
All right, we are right on track, baby.
Yeah, it was the OT win against the Leafs.
Yeah.
I did not expect that, though, by the way.
Well,
No.
no one did.
No.
By the way, if we can go back to the Leafs game for half a second. Josh Levo scoring a goal in that game?
You think he was excited?
A
He
little
looked
bit.
pretty excited.
Yeah.
I think he's been playing pretty
That was the
well
best
lately.
FU moment of the season, I thought. was that Levo clearly had not been shown faith by Mike Babcock to be an everyday player for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And scoring a goal of that magnitude against the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think that was the perfect revenge for Josh Levo.
Sorry, Chris, to cut you off, but I just want to say the difference between the Canucks and the Leafs is, Levo's been playing well, but the Canucks' top-line winger was deemed not good enough to play on the Leafs. Like, that's how good the Leafs are compared to the Canucks.
Although, I think that is part of why it's so satisfying that he has.
Of course, and
here.
he's proven that he can play for sure. But that's just where the two teams are right now.
So, which former Leaf got the best plate of revenge served? Andrew Raycroft coming in to back up the Vancouver Canucks comeback in Toronto.
Do you remember this game?
Or was it Josh Levo getting that goal in a Canucks come from
behind? Someone rehashed the Raycroft game. So he was backing up that game?
So Raycroft was the backup, and I want to say the Leafs had like a 3 or 4
3-0
lead on the Canucks. And
I was at an SFU women's basketball game.
They make the switch.
Was this in like 2012 or something? 2011?
Like
yeah, it was around hot times. They make the switch. Raycroft goes in. Essentially, try to.
So the Leafs chased. Was it Luongo at the time?
Would have been Luongo. Yeah, it was 2010, I think.
Yeah, it must have been. It's definitely before my time.
And so Raycroft goes in to simply settle things down. And the Canucks not only come back to when they win like 6-3 or 6-4, it was like definitive. And Raycroft at the end of the game, when essentially it's a done deal, is skating around the ice, like waving at fans.
Oh, I do remember that. See, when he said that, that's when I remembered it.
Because he had time, like Levo was the tying goal. If it was a game-winning goal, it might be a different story. And if it was in Toronto, it would be a different story.
Yeah, Raycroft, it was in Toronto.
Yeah, Raycroft was better.
The final minutes to skate around and then... in the old city, right?
Sorry,
that makes a difference.
And just to recap Josh Levo, is it safe to say that Levo has been the best salvation project or reclamation project this season for the Canucks?
This season, not even close. I'd say the only one close would be...
The other ones being like
Berchi.
Tanner Pearson.
But Berchi's the only one who's close. We could say Berchi's probably better just because he's been there longer.
But we're saying Berchi, Goldobin, Levo, Pearson... a lot of those reclamation projects, Gagne, if you want to throw that in there, like of all of them this year only that have paid off, Levo I think has paid the most dividends in terms of what it cost to get him and in terms of the value that he has returned.
Yeah, Gagne's only been a reclamation project for the Oilers.
Yeah,
and he seems to have figured it out. I don't.
Derek Pouliot we could throw in there too, by the way.
Pearson, I think it would be unfair to put him in the mix.
Sure,
right? Because it is still very early. But Levo hands down. Let's think.
Like
back.
he cost Michael Carconi, and I'm again not even 100% sure I'm saying the name right. Like he was never going to play here in Vancouver.
Oh no.
And so the value that Levo's returned, and he will be an RFA, I believe, at the end of the season. Like he's clearly going to be back next year because of the fact the Canucks just don't have anybody else to play on the wings, and he will get maybe a 2-year, like the good old Marcus Granlund contract, kind of a 2-year prove it contract. And for me, like, it's not bad in terms of small wins, if you will, to borrow a term from Adam. Already he's percolating in his brain some responses to that. But
wouldn't it be something if that Carconi for Levo trade was somehow going to turn into the next Stoyanov for Naismith?
I was thinking you might say that, but that's obviously on the high end of expectations.
Oh, yeah, no. And the thing is, like, people are like, it can't happen. Well, Naslund was, even when he was a Canuck in his first few seasons... didn't really have what he ended up having. I think it was for
years he struggled before he hit his prime.
I mean, Mike Keenan, was the one who called him out, and I think he was ultimately reclaimed, and then Mark Crawford made it better.
On Levo, like if he breaks, I want to say 40 points a year, it's a grand slam for the Canucks in terms of the trade.
If he breaks 30 points a year, 20
even
points
30,
a year,
might be cutting it.
Because again, Carconi was not coming into this lineup, so
I guess
anything plus.
If the baseline is like Levo's an everyday player, then they already win the trade.
Yeah,
and I think clearly he's shown he can at least be an everyday player for the next couple years while the Canucks are rebuilding. Anything else before we talk about Quinn Hughes, Brock Besser?
No, we've talked about Besser.
We've talked about Besser, Pettersson, Calder watch, Dahlin. Is that still a thing?
Well, I think we already talked about the fact that Pettersson has not shown.
I'm getting freaked out. I'm not going to lie.
Games that he's dominant, but I think you raised a good point, and as well as that is he's broken down against Vegas. The Canucks are pretty much out of this game and there's Pettersson still racing hard on the back check, having been essentially sent in, 1v4. The kid, applaud him for, giving 100% each and every game. But at this point, might it make better sense to more situationally play him?
But I don't know if Pettersson works like that.
No, I know. It's no
he
different.
has one
It's like
switch.
Henrik Sedin and his streak, where the Vancouver Canucks did not want to risk him getting injured. He comes out for one shift and then is sent to the showers. By all accounts, Hank was pissed that the team forced his hand that way, but accepted the fact that if they're going to sit me on the bench for the entire game, I'd rather just, head in and call it a night.
Yeah. I see Pettersson the same way. He plays one way, and that's unfortunate that he's on a team like Canucks where he has to shoulder more responsibility, but that's the way he's built.
Anything else before we talk about Quinn Hughes?
Yeah, we're 19 minutes in. Let's
Well,
get to
well,
Hughes.
no. I mean, there's one more
Has
thing.
it been 19 already?
Yeah, we're bearing the lead here.
There's one more thing that we're going to talk about before we get to Quinn Hughes. But not right here. We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com and the Overtime Media Podcast Network.
He liked to say the F word.
Oh, then get the here then. Okay, see ya.
Is going to have the F word on it.
I wish I could give you an explanation about it. I can't. You, out of here.
You said the F word, Dad.
You called me the F word.
It's time for an F word. Is that why you're pointing at me?
It is time for an F word. How did you guess?
Well, because you pointed at me. All right, Matt, I'm sorry to do this, but we're going to put Quinn Hughes on hold for a minute because it's my time to get pissed off. Okay, so I said we'd circle back to the Vegas game because we have to, because that was an embarrassment on a national scale.
I forgot it was nationally televised.
Nationally televised game, and you get the doors blown off in the first period. Like, it was apocalyptically bad. And the number one, I sent this out in our Discord chat after, the number one trending topic in Canada after the game was #fire Benning. It's a bad look for the team. It's an embarrassment when that's happening on Twitter. Aquilini, who is
talk about Uber and Lyft.
Yeah, but also like present on Twitter and a very prideful owner, I think. I think that's going to get his attention. So I put this question out the other day. In all seriousness, this isn't me advocating for Benning's firing, which I think should happen, but that's beside the point. Is honestly, if the team continues its nosedive, they're 2-6-2 in their last 10. If they keep that up, that 0.33 points per game ratio we talked about, is that the end for Benning? It's finally boiling over now. The fans are pissed off, and they're being vocal about it to the point that we've never really seen before. And you guys can call me negative, but I'm not the only one who's feeling this way. There's a point where after 5 years, you need to see things being made. 5 years ago, Benning said the team would be elite in 4 years. He traded for a whole bunch of foundational players that have turned into nothing. McCann scoring 15 goals in Pittsburgh while Goodbranson was shipped out for nothing.
Does he have 15?
14 or 15. But he's proven to be a totally fine player while Goodbranson is one of the worst defensemen in the league. It's time, but I honestly think that Benning has a year left maximum. He will not be the GM by the end of next season.
Can we put that on the list?
Yes.
I am not a supporter of Jim Benning. You and I have generally agreed that was the wrong decision to be made when it came to hiring a GM.
Yeah.
I don't disagree that he has a minimum of 1 year left. I don't see the Vancouver Canucks dealing him a ride to the airport until such time as Uber or Lyft happen to be in the city. And that has a lot more to do with, one, the fact the Aquilinis are already on the book for a number of other people that they're paying not to be involved with the team. Two, I actually think that when, and we don't know the full picture, when Trevor and Jim were both running the show, is that we felt that a rebuild needed to be taking place and that maybe it should have been. They said retool, so we don't truly know how much of that was Jim. However, what we do know is starting this year, the rebuild is on. The Vancouver Canucks have embraced it. Where I think Jim Benning has gone afoul is while rebuilding, we're seeing him continue to bring in reclamation projects that, unless it's a matter of, hey, we're trying to go in and, find a diamond in the rough, great. But he's offering crazy deals to reclamation projects. That's the part that drives me nuts. Now, who would take his place? I vote Lawrence Gilman, as I always have.
Yeah.
But I wonder if we don't see Benning, like what's the firing condition? Is it the Canucks don't make the playoffs next year?
That's the thing, and that's what's been driving me crazy is what does he have to not do to get canned?
Yeah, because he's not winning.
He's not winning, and
he's not winning
he's
now,
not
and he's not rebuilding. Yeah,
there's no direction.
In?
So honestly, I think the thing is now finally, like, on a national scale, he was kind of exposed, right? Both on Twitter, and the game was a disaster. So, and I honestly think that Aquilini's, they wanted to win, one, because they wanted the money, but two, because they didn't want to be losers. They've been losers for 5 years now, and I just don't see them being okay with that for much longer.
Yeah.
Well, I think Aquilini would become more distressed if the team doesn't show signs of life. But you could argue that this season we did, whether it's because of Benning or not. Pettersson showed that he's a dominant force and arguably should remain so with the Vancouver Canucks. You saw Besser become the player he kind of was the end of last year. I think where we see the fire condition is with these pieces, with Quinn Hughes coming into play and whatever comes out of the draft and in the off season. If the team remains stuck in neutral, at that point, I think Aquilini goes and says, peace be with you. The other thing, however, and this is not something we will see until the off season ticket renewals speak loudly, I think, in the eyes of the Aquilini investment group. When the money stops flowing in through the gate, it becomes very problematic. I had heard stories that during the NHL lockout, that the Aquilinis were so gate-driven at that time for the team that they were actually looking at ways to make money to keep, the lights on in the building. And they had already gone and essentially, furloughed half their staff. So I think that big gate is what's most important. And
That's
as
fair.
the gate starts to disappear,
which I think is going to happen. It has been happening.
well, heck, they're offering that crazy student deal where $30 gets you a seat in the house, and it could be like sitting down like front row.
And I really hope they don't turn that into a story that the Canucks fans can't take a rebuild, because we've been waiting for 5 years and it's not been great hockey.
Isn't that what the Rangers did too? Like, they sent a letter to fans and said, this is a rebuild, this is what we're doing, and pretty much no one has gone up in arms in it.
And then they actually went out and did it, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sort of changing direction. I want to stop the freaking narrative of Benning being an amazing drafter. I think, we give. You want to say it?
No, I had something else, but that might corroborate.
We give
what you're saying.
Judd Brackett a lot of credit, and I think deservedly so for guys like Tyler Madden and those sorts, and Adam Gaudette. But the people that the players that people always bring up, Pettersson, Hughes, Besser, they were all first round picks. Hughes, they were lucky that he was there. Pettersson, probably lucky that he was there. Those aren't amazing draft picks, and there's only 4 players that Benning has drafted.
Damn it, that was my line.
That's what I was trying to say.
I was gonna say it. 4
players that Benning has drafted that are on the team: Besser, Pettersson, Virtanen, and Gaudette.
All first rounders except one of them.
I think Besser
and
might
Virtanen
be the
was a
only
huge buzz.
win you can.
The better player out of that 2014 draft, they shipped away for Eric Goodbranson. I just don't. His player evaluation. I think Judd Brackett is a good scout and a good drafter, but I think Benning's player evaluation is not good.
Okay, you go first. Do you have anything else?
No,
okay.
I was just going to back up that.
Okay, just to put a cherry on top of this discussion. But I will say that in his conference, if you will, to media today about Hughes, Benning pretty much said without saying that his goal is for this team to make the playoffs next year. I know you're already rolling your eyes. I'm just saying, clearly, if this team falls short of that goal, Benning will be gone.
Yeah, I put it on the list. I'm saying he's not He will not be the
only
GM
thing
by
that
the
saves
draft of next year.
the only thing that would save Jim Benning's job is if this team makes the playoffs next year, and not like squeaking it, but like I'm saying, take a serious leap.
Yeah,
they cannot squeak into the playoffs and save his job. I'm saying they have to clearly be heads and shoulders way better than they are this season,
which is
pretty much next to impossible. I won't lie. There's a smidgen of hope that the team does come together, and depending on what they do in free agency and at the draft, but it would take the Canucks making it into the playoffs at the least for Jim Benning to be the GM of this team at this time next year.
Okay.
But as someone said on Twitter during the Vegas game, like, Quinn Hughes isn't saving this team, good as player as he is.
But Jack Hughes might save this team.
He's not saving the team. Like, just look at what a disaster Edmonton still is, and they have Connor freaking McDavid, who is putting that entire team on his back.
Leon Draisaitl.
And, yeah, okay. Leon Draisaitl so they have, like, 2 players.
Shout out to Leon Draisaitl, by the way, getting me to a second-place finish in my fantasy pool this year. Continue.
Good for you, man.
Shane first, you're last.
Ricky Bobby.
Shut up.
Anyway,
sports,
that's it.
But yeah,
I'm over
not
it.
happening.
Like, I'm done. I'm
you know how Adam's
frustrated.
over it? He's just leaning back against the wall right now saying he's over it. That's the most Adam thing he's ever
There
said.
are times I want to just detach from this team because I hate being a fan of this team sometimes. But anyway, till the end, I guess, Chris.
Well, before we take a quick break, I just want to point out something that the patrons already know. If you happen to be in patron chat, Matt was about to punch Adam in the face. So we're going to take a moment.
I said, no, hang on. Context, because I don't want to damage my relationship with Adam. I said it's taking all my energy not to punch Adam in the face because instead of talking about Hughes, we're talking about Benning again. Is that not fair?
Well, I didn't know we were doing it in this order.
I know. I'm tired of talking about Jim Benning. And I know he's on thin ice. I know. I hear you. I feel you. Don't worry. Calm down, my love.
We're going to take a quick break so these two can step outside and hug it out. We'll be back with half full, half empty.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on it.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it? And that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He didn't play. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And, yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
So you want to talk about Quinn Hughes, do you, Matt?
I'm excited.
Me too.
But let me preface this by saying I am totally keeping expectations in check. He will not turn this team around en route to a miraculous playoff run. He is going to make mistakes. I simply want him to go out there, do his thing, show a little bit of that razzle-dazzle, and then just pocket that and build it into what he will bring to this team full-time next year.
Do you think?
I just want to see him on the power play once. That's all I want to see.
More than anything, I want him to see play 10 games or fewer.
I think that's the other big thing.
So the two things. One, do you think he has the Brock Besser effect? When Brock came, got a few games.
No, it's going to be less than Brock Besser, which was the high end of the debut from college players. It will be a little bit better than Adam Gaudette was because I don't think any of us really expected Gaudette to turn the ship around last year when he debuted. But so it'll be somewhere in between those two players, I think.
Okay. Now, as far as his arrival in Vancouver, do you believe Quinn Hughes is going to reinvigorate this very polarized fan base right now? I mean, again, Adam, you pointed out during the F word, #FireBending was trending nationally. Is Quinn Hughes the smokescreen to make things better?
I kind of think so. It's like, hey, here's this shiny toy while everything else is on fire in the background, right? It's a distraction. I think a hell of a distraction. He's a guy you want to bring in. You want to see him play because he's an amazing prospect. But like Matt said, he's not going to fix things, and he's not the answer to anything. He's part of a bigger solution. But Do I think he's going to fill seats? Maybe a few. Does he sell? How many more tickets a game does he sell? 100, 200?
I'm interested in going.
Right, just to see for sure. But I think.
Do you think the Quinn Hughes 43 jerseys are already in store?
Those are going to sell pretty well if it does pretty well. But I don't know. I think, I think half the fans want to see him play and play as much as possible, and the other half of the fans would be fine if he played 10 games and don't care about going to the games this year because the team's probably going to lose, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's this division, and I don't think Hughes is going to mend that.
So, a couple things about games played. As we know, we don't want him to burn his, I don't know what the term would be. Like
expansion exemption?
Yeah, because its eligibility is going to get burned because of the contract year start. And this is where I'm confused. Ryan Beach tweeted to say that the contract's dated this year, so that happens.
It's already been burned.
That's been burned. Yeah. But as for exemption, it's a little bit later. He has a $25,000 performance bonus based on playing 5 games. So that gives me the belief that he's been told he's guaranteed at least 5. That makes sense. Less than 10. Canucks only have 13 left. It's been bandied around. Play him at home. Don't have him travel.
Yeah,
that's
it's
fine.
hard to walk on a bruised foot. Leave him at home.
Yeah, that's the thing. He is playing, or he is injured. He was injured, I think, in the second last game of the Michigan season. So he probably won't be playing Wednesday. And
sorry, Anna.
I know.
Are you going to the game? Is that why you're so upset about it?
Yeah.
That's why she got mad at you.
Yeah, well.
No, that's a different game.
So just the bonus game reference, Lars Scheider's got a bonus game that could buy into anyhow.
Oh, nice. So, yeah, I think just because of an injury, he probably won't play. I do think if he does play 11 games, that's egregious mismanagement.
It's stupid.
It would be, unforgivable.
It's needless.
Completely needless. And you'd think he would... If you told Quinn Hughes, hey, sorry, man, we're going to sit you for 3 extra games this year so we don't have to protect you, so we can bring in another player.
To make you better. To make the team better.
I think that's totally fine. You know what? You're already burning this year anyway, so what does it matter? So if...
Honestly, if Quinn Hughes didn't play until next week, I'd be okay with that.
And the games, the games away are at Dallas, Chicago,
Don't care.
Nashville, and St. Louis. We're going to get whumped in at least 3 of those games. Maybe we'll beat Chicago because we seem to do that.
Hughes in Chicago, I could see happening.
Yeah. There are 13 games left. Just sit him for 3. It's not hard.
Well,
he's injured.
Again,
he's injured.
Back to the bonus, the 5 games.
Yeah, exactly.
That leads me to believe they've already chatted about the fact that he is going to have a restricted number of games played. Minutes. Is this kid going to get some big minutes?
25.
He won't get 25. He'll get
25 minutes all in the power play.
He might get 2 minutes per power play,
I would say 3 to be honest.
Yeah, find him to play, put him on every power play.
Our power play is a mess. Let's see if he can fix it.
It can't get worse. I think I texted you the other day during one of the games. The Canucks are... This has changed a little bit. But I think the Toronto game, maybe, they were 7% since February, mid-February. In NHL, we're 7% on the power play since mid-February. And then they gave up the shorthanded goal against Toronto. So they're they can't get worse.
The problem is they haven't mastered the quick drop pass.
Right, that's what it is.
Yeah, quick drop pass. Quinn comes into the game. Who leaves it?
Derek Pouliot, bye. Yeah, peace be with you.
Okay, well...
Let's leave him in New Jersey or leave him in Dallas or something.
So...
Drop him off in Utica, I don't know.
We all say Derek Pouliot.
It's not close. This isn't worth... It's not worth debate.
Pouliot too, yeah.
It's not worth debating.
Say the same thing?
He's not sitting down the Bulldog.
No, Biegel's been playing well.
I wouldn't do that either. I'm asking the question that is honestly the most pressing.
I understand, but it's Derek Pouliot.
It's Pouliot, and it's not even a conversation. I don't think.
Well, it should be. It should be. But again, I'm not suggesting Travis Green is the same as Willie Desjardins in tanking, but Willie liked his players.
Can I just say, go off the rails for a second? How much I'm really digging Alex Biega lately. Do you know who Biega reminds me of? Former Canucks legend Mike Weaver. Do you remember him?
Yeah, but Mike Weaver didn't do anything offensive.
No, he didn't. But Biega didn't really
The
either this
microwave,
year.
you love
Yes,
that.
I did love the microwave.
Biega's.
Do you know who the microwave was?
No.
Was that before your time?
Probably before.
You know who I'm
He was
talking
like
about.
08, 09.
You were looking at me like you don't know who the microwave is.
I'll
trying to make
probably
a
be
point
embarrassed
here.
when you go and point it out.
Biega's making offensive rushes, like trying to dangle behind the opponent's net.
He's good for one big rush every game.
Yeah, and almost a point a game at this point. But
But you know what? He's having fun. Why
he's
not?
having fun. But it's just a wild ride with Biega. He's gonna go. He's a poor man's Brent Burns kind of thing. He'll make a mistake. And I don't want to put him in the same breath, but like that
So he
guy
just
who
needs
tries
to
to
grow-
make an
grow a
offensive
beard
play
and
and
have birds' nests
will
in it.
screw up.
He doesn't
more
even have
often
hair
than
up top.
not. Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, we talk about Jags all
He's
the time.
playing like he wants to be Brent Burns. Let's say that.
We're off the rails. Tell me, you have the number 7 spot on the blue line. I get there are people in Discord who have said like, oh, anyone can fill that spot. I love Biega in the 7th spot.
I think so too.
Like he makes the odd mistake, but in my mind,
He's just
he accepts the role.
he's
does
a
it
likable
well.
guy.
Yeah, and you need
Great in the room, as Jim Betting would say. I need those.
He's like
Wait.
Keith Ballard,
Rutherford who said
right? But less trodden on, I guess.
And substantially less overpaid.
Oh, true, that. But he's just like the perfect 7th guy. He can slot in, he'll play forward, he'll do anything, and you shouldn't count on him to be more than that, but he's perfect.
How much
in
does
that role.
Biega make?
Like less than $1 million, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying, like this is what I've been saying. You can get these kind of guys for cheap. You don't need to be paying replacement level guys. $4 million.
We know.
So
back on Quinn Hughes. Question in patron chat was when we see him making his debut. So they do have the game on Wednesday, which is against the Rangers. Then on Friday against the Devils. Then it's on the road against Dallas and Chicago, like you mentioned.
If he doesn't play against the Rangers, I think he plays against the Devils. In fact, in my mind,
I don't know.
Well, so a Friday night game. It's just from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, but they're not going to have trouble getting people in for that Friday game, though, are they?
Against the Devils?
Against the Devils, sure, but it's a Friday night game, though.
Against the Devils?
If it was like Wednesday against the Devils, yes. But it's the Devils on a Friday night. Like, Friday... Despite it being... Like, I always think Friday, Saturdays are the game that no matter who they're playing, they'll always have people in
you'll
the
have more
arena for.
You'll have more butts and seats because it is a Friday, but you're still not going to be close to full because it's the Devils.
So if I'm looking for tickets, I should go for Friday's game?
They'll be cheap.
You think so?
Yes.
Interesting.
In fact, I would say there are probably more people interested in the Rangers coming to town than the Devils coming to town. But the Rangers are on a Wednesday night.
Quinn might be playing against the Devils, and he's unlikely to play against the Rangers.
Yes. And it gives him more time.
We don't care if he doesn't play against the Rangers, though.
We don't want him to
I've
play
also
against the
realized
Rangers.
I'm going to at least 2 more games before the end of the season, so I don't care either.
Wow, Anna, cool.
Wow. Cool story.
She's rich, got lots of tickets.
Yeah, no kidding. Do you think that the team has already given the Hughes family the heads up that they're eyeing, like, Friday?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Someone should be down at the airport watching to see when the Hughes family lands, comes through customs.
Do you think the Hughes... Never mind.
I don't want to get too excited.
Wonder what Jack Hughes is doing this weekend.
Is he going to come and watch the Canucks play, throw in a hat?
No, he can't keep doing that.
I love it. I recycle that picture every time in Discord when I get the chance.
In a few months' time, it's just going to break my heart.
Maybe he pulls.
He's going to put on.
Especially as you
he's
won't
gonna
be
put
there
on a
to hold his
Blackhawks
hat.
hat or an Avalanche hat at the
Oh,
draft.
God. Those are like the last 2 teams I want to see Jack Hughes put on a hat
You
for.
don't think he'll pull an Eric Lindros and demand where he should play?
Oh yeah, because I'm sure people are just desperate to play in Vancouver.
Hey, not all the players that are universally accepted as top draft picks throwing on Canucks hats in the limo on the way to whatever draft party his brother was going to.
I'll quickly add that, and they brought it up in Discord, I wish we could go back in time and have Quinn Hughes make his debut against Toronto. That would have been cool.
Okay, I don't know if the barn or the fan base could have handled all of that all at the same
That's too much happening. It's like all your senses overloaded in one moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, speaking of Toronto, I actually pointed it out in our rundown. Eastern media, specifically Nick Kypreos, suggested that the Vancouver Canucks should not have gotten rid of Erik Gudbranson because Goody would
Let's
be,
make this quick.
Could be a good mentor for Hughes.
We got to move on. This is like the breakup that won't end.
They don't
watch the Canucks.
games.
Who cares? And also,
what does Nick Kiprios know? Seriously, like,
what does he
genuine
know about the
question.
Canucks?
Nick Kiprios goes to bed by the time Canucks games start.
And
most
also,
of the time.
like, Goodbranson's just one of those old boys guys, you know, like a Don Cherry, Nick Kiprios, PJ Stock guy that they all love, but is not a good hockey player, but he's a good, tough Canadian boy, so he's going to be favored by these
And just
boys.
to piggyback off of OC here, I will say, like, if Goodbranson scores 20 goals in Pittsburgh, it won't happen. But if Eric Goodbranson scores 20 goals in Pittsburgh, good for him.
Yeah,
I will be fine if Eric Goodbranson proves me wrong and becomes a Norris Trophy freaking winning defenseman.
Because we still won't be wrong. He was terrible here.
Yeah,
Whatever
it doesn't
happens.
change the reality that Goodbranson sucked here
It's
in Vancouver.
not like they gave up on him too early or something, you know? It's just like...
Jared McCann is different. We sold him for, like, pennies on a dollar, and he had still
McCann
so much
had
more
a
upside.
second.
McCann had
second.
1-2 years max to prove himself in Vancouver, whereas Goodbranson got a long ass leash in Vancouver.
See, this is what's called a smart podcast host. Put a topic in that lights a match and gets the hosts a burning.
Because you talk about Eric Goodbranson like he's a thing. He's not a thing.
Don't worry, he sucks in Pittsburgh.
I don't care what Nick Kiprios or any of those guys say about the Canucks. Friedman I respect, so I'll listen to him. But he has
full disclosure.
Whoa, reel it in, Anna.
Friedman?
What? Friedman's one of the best in the business.
I just think he's the best of a bad bunch.
No, he's just one of the best. Period.
He is one of the best.
I honestly just like when I read his stuff and then I see him on Twitter and then I watch him on TV, I'm like, are these the same people? Because he says dumb stuff. Maybe it's just the format, but I just don't feel like it's the same person.
Who do you have better than Friedman?
Well, Mackenzie's
But that's what I
the
said.
Bob
Okay, that
father.
was where I was going to take this
Mackenzie's the
conversation.
Bob father, but Friedman's too. Like it's
See, the problem is that Friedman
that's
gets
what
a
I'm saying.
lot. Sorry, this is so off the
Okay.
rails now.
But yeah, no,
It's a
I
better
just
conversation
don't.
anyway.
I don't think he's good at TV. That's what I.
Okay,
But
that's
you
fine.
cannot deny the connections and the insight.
He's
that
a
he
great
has.
reporter and has smart
That's what
takes. He's
have
not a great.
Have I not just said that? Like,
Well, we were
I
talking
love-
about good reporters, and you went about Friedman. So.
Yeah, because we're talking about him on.
But we're talking about idiots like Kiprios and those guys. Those guys are idiots.
What I'm saying is, I think I hate watching those intermission segments, and he doesn't improve it much. Like, I think those panels are just garbage.
Okay, so and I'm going to key in on the bad bunch part. Is there a good bunch?
No.
So
the
ultimately,
Sportsnet
I'm gonna be
intermission
sad
panels
when Bob
better.
McKenzie retires. By
now,
the way,
so is that a Sportsnet CBC thing? Like if
Hockey Night in Canada is terrible.
Yeah, it's a bad product.
I don't
I hate to
disagree.
say it, but it's not.
Well,
good.
no, I'm not. I'm
It's just that it's the only show in town, so to speak, right now.
Yeah, man, I miss TSN having hockey.
Yeah, like just super off the rails. I keep saying
We can save this for an off the rails.
I know,
if you want.
I know, but I will quickly say that I do miss TSN coverage, and I don't watch nearly enough TSN as I used to. As a result, and it's like I've become so detached from Mackenzie as a result. And I really wish that TSN had the rights because I did like the panel when they had it on with Ferraro and stuff like that. And this is just me opining for the old days. Like even Cam Ward wasn't bad on TSN.
You mean Aaron Ward?
Sorry, Aaron Ward. Cam Ward.
I think, and to tie that one up, the NHL coverage in Canada is not better with a single network, calling the shots. I mean, CBC doesn't factor into this because they're leasing what Rogers paid. It should have always continued to be a split where Bell and Rogers competed to make each other better. And I think it agreed that that's unfortunately not the case. Okay.
Sorry, one more thing on Quinn Hughes. We obviously all here fully expect he will be an everyday player next season.
Yes.
As long as his body can keep up with the game, yeah.
Like unanimously,
He's starting the season in the NHL.
Or does he get like the Gaudette sort of treatment
No.
to start the season?
No.
He will be
Gaudette
given every benefit of the doubt.
have the hype.
He's one of those guys that will sell some tickets, like you can't promise that and then take it away.
So let's say the Canucks go and make a huge free agent splash on the blue line.
Erik Karlsson.
Then
because that's going to sell tickets too.
Right, but then you just
then
put him in.
That's a good problem to
people,
have.
yeah.
Well, no, I'm not suggesting. It's just that's the only situation where I could see Hughes maybe cycling into the 6-7 spot.
No, he'll be getting
top 4 minutes.
Top 4 minutes for sure.
So
do Stetcher and Hutton recede back into a bottom pairing then? If that were to all to fall into place.
Well, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
You know, if you're getting a star defenseman, then you know it is what it is. So.
Quick question: does Erik Karlsson save Jim Benning's job if he signs here?
One is Benning around to make the signing, but assuming he is,
this is assuming we haven't unplugged Jim Benning's phone on July 1st.
Yes. Maybe. Yes. Probably. I don't know.
If Karlsson wants to get overpaid, GM Jim Benning, he's the guy to talk to. Tank Watch, Canucks 2-6-2, last 10, sitting on 65 points. No other team in the bottom of the league has a better record in the last 10 with signs of getting hot. So, can the Canucks get any lower than they currently are?
Hang on, let me look at this. Hang on, look at the standings. Man, that Devils game is a huge game for Tank Watch, eh?
And do
I think they've got another game or two against the Anaheim Ducks.
I was going to say
right?
the Ducks are the closest team to them and have a
that is
good
the
chance.
Epitome of a must-lose game right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if we're going to win games, just don't let it be any against Anaheim and the Devils.
They play Anaheim.
The Kings have
once
they
more.
won a game or two lately.
Just 2-6-2. You know, I look at the Tank Watch and Edmonton and others have really turned things around, having, you know, gassed their GM. So, thanks Edmonton. But, like, really, I don't know how much farther the Canucks can fall.
At this point, I'm just taking whatever we can get best odds. But if we
well,
could somehow...
They play Chicago, they play Anaheim, they play
Well, they're not
LA.
beating Chicago. They're not beating
I'm just saying, like,
Beat
they
Chicago
play these
a lot.
teams
That's
that are
also
right around
a
them in the
must-lose
standings,
game,
and they're
BTW.
4-point games for Tank Watch, you know, so...
Sorry to wrap things up here on the Quinn Hughes discussion is before we wrap things up in the podcast. Bit of trivia for everybody here. So Quinn Hughes, I don't think I even told you this one. Quinn Hughes will become the first player to be playing for the Canucks in his draft plus 1 year since...
Draft plus 1?
Yeah. So in other words, he was drafted the year before, and then the next year he plays for the Vancouver Canucks. No, Gaudette played at Northeastern for another full season, and then he played.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Like Gaudette played 3 years, I think, total for Northeastern. In other words,
can you give us a year?
It's been a while.
Okay.
What's the year?
Like pre-Gillis era.
So Nonis.
Yes.
Draft plus.
So in other words, again, just to rehash, like
drafted
and then plays the very next year.
Ryan Kessler.
Very good.
Thank you.
Nice.
It's been that long.
That was the only collegiate
since the
player
Canucks
they
have
ever
had
drafted,
a player to play in their draft. I don't even think it's collegiate. I think it's just in general.
Wow.
Like Pettersson played another full year in Timrå, and then he came over.
Yeah.
Gaudette, full year in Northeastern, and then one more year in Northeastern, and then he played.
Draft years.
Literally in that same year, yeah.
Okay.
Besser played another year at UND before he came over, and then came.
Wow.
Interesting.
It's a good piece of trivia.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of shows how far the Canucks have fallen, if
how
anything.
Sad our drafting record is that we can't have players play immediately.
Well, okay. In
I know.
They haven't been drafting at the bottom all that long during that period of time.
Jack Hughes will be number 2 next season.
Well, as we wrap up another episode of the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast, I do want to give a shout out to Pete from Denmark. You see, Pete, he sent in an email essentially through the CanucksHockeyBlog.com website. And
Chris, what is the email they can send to?
Well, the email address to send it to just direct is c4@CanucksHockeyBlog.com. If you email us, we will see it. I check that inbox like every hour on the hour throughout the day. But sending it through CanucksHockeyBlog.com, the contact form works too. It's just that's something I don't see until I log in to publish a post. And unfortunately, we went and published, and then Pete from Denmark sent it in. He sent a long message, and I wish I could read it verbatim, but just to sort of sum it up, he is a new Vancouver Canucks fan, having caught the bug because his wonderful girlfriend Kylie is a enthusiastic Canucks fan. Now, first of all,
what is one of those? I don't even know. But...
Well, an enthusiastic Canucks fan.
Yeah.
This is me enthusiastic right here.
Yeah, just bottle up that entry. I'm curious though. Do you think Kylie listens to the podcast? Like, I'm genuinely curious.
I hope
Pete
so.
does.
Shout out to Kylie if you're listening. Feel free to email us or reach out to us on Twitter if you are.
That's right. He also made some comments about audio levels, which is interesting because
It's Chris's fault.
Okay, we were talking about audio levels in our sort of host chat in Discord.
It's Chris's fault.
It's something we've been trying to deal with and work over and sort out. We hope...
It's the Vancouver Public Library's fault.
Really hope that eventually we'll figure this out. We are looking to get some of our own gear so we can at least have much more control over it.
And so we're not here for 45 minutes setting up.
That too. But Pete did raise a good point that he was concerned that he would disrupt his neighbors because of how the audio levels were.
Sorry to the people of Copenhagen.
Yeah, Matt, who was like shoutcasting.
Yannick Hansen?
Is that the only Dane you can name?
Anyhow, Adam, Anna, and I
Nick Jensen?
What was the question? Danish Canucks?
Or just Danish
Lars
people?
Eller.
Mirko Mueller?
I don't know. He's Swiss.
Is he Swiss?
I think so.
Let's get back to Pete from Denmark here. I'm
Oh, right.
Pete a shout out. It's a listener, and you guys are going off on a tangent. Pete, how many other
like
Danish
you're wanting to
hockey
talk.
players out there?
Martin
Anyhow,
Gerber?
Schmeichel's a Danish now.
Okay. Anyhow, thanks, Pete. But if you want to get a shout out, it's very easy. Just shoot us an email. It's that extra little effort. We'll give that to you. We also give a shout out to patrons who...
Nikolai Ehlers.
Lars Eller.
Yeah, I said Lars Eller.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Did that on
Danish bacon.
Why do I even show up anymore? I'm the guy
Sorry,
that
Dad.
likes
Sorry,
going
Dad.
off the rails. I get heat when I do.
Did
but
you
no,
say
it's
Michael
okay
Bodker?
if the kids can.
No.
Michael
That's a good
Bodker's
one.
another
Yeah.
one.
Oliver Bjorkstrand?
Oh, yeah.
If you like this madness, please tune in to us at CanucksHockeyBlog.com or on the Overtime Media Podcast Network for all of those tuning in. A couple things about that. I just want to recap. One, you may have heard there might have been advertisements during this podcast. That's part of the relationship. But one of the things that's going to provide us is the ability to network with other podcasts. We're going to be connecting with other podcasts like the Nashville Predators podcast. There's a Chicago Blackhawks one. We want to get more guests on. We're also now going to be coming to you all year long. For those of you who have been longtime listeners, you've probably noticed that once the Canucks hit the golf course, the podcast itself shuts down. We show up for the draft lottery, and Matt and Adam, cry in each other's shoulder, and we always have
Tears of joy this year.
A post-draft episode, and we always have like a post-free agent
From
frenzy
afar
episode.
this year, though.
That's okay.
Well, in the off-season, we're going to be dropping down from once and who knows when to bi-weekly. So we're going to be coming out all year long. And as well, we're really looking at this as an opportunity to take our podcast to the next level. So we do appreciate that everyone's continuing to tune in, and we do appreciate your support. Please send us that feedback. As we wrap things up, Matt, final words of wisdom you wish to share to the thousands and thousands of C4 listeners.
Is Franz Nielsen another
I
one?
was going to say, can you name the highest scoring Dane of all time?
Is it Franz
It's
Nielsen?
Franz Nielsen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Look
you
at
wish
the
to add to
look
that?
on Chris's face. We are like the two boys who disappointed their dad.
Yeah, but who always do well, always succeed in the end.
Yeah. So, yeah, draft lottery won't be there.
I know. Well,
I will tell you this. Like, if you guys are doing a live stream for the draft lottery, you have my permission to wake me up early morning in Japan. And
what if we're not going to call you early morning anyway?
Oh,
Like, if
we're
I'm
doing
just
it.
at home, going to bed, and you're, like, waking up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If we win Jack Hughes, you can call me up and whenever you want, all right?
Anyway, thanks for sticking with us throughout this transition phase of the podcast.
Anna?
Also, Michael Laudrup, one of the best footballers of all time. He was Danish.
Okay.
Who gives a
And Peter Schmeichel. And his son, Kasper Schmeichel. Both Premier League winning goalkeepers.
You said footballers.
Yeah.
They've never played in the NFL.
Let me tell you a story about when this podcast had some order and civility to it.
Bedtime story with Dad.
I remember those days. But
what were the 80s like?
They were wicked cool, let me tell you. But for those who do tune in each and every week, thank you. If you haven't done so already, please join our Discord. The easiest way to get there is to go to bit.ly/C4 Discord. That's C4 Discord, all caps. Join. Gate 16 is like the greatest place to have a conversation. Off topic's pretty cool. If you are a patron of the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast, Make sure you join Discord because you get to come into the inner sanctum, and at a certain level, you get to tune in live to listen to us podcast when we can, because again, it needs the hot box and all that jazz. But if you are looking for us, we're at facebook.com/C4 Podcast and twitter.com the C4 Podcast. On behalf of Matt Lee at Matt Lee _61, Adam Omenel Carter at Adam FOC, and Anna Forsyth at Forsyth03, I am Chris Golden at Lightforce, signing off with We're Out.
Thanks for listening to the C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com.